Welcome, everybody. My name is Sherry Skipworth, and I am the CEO of Handmade University. And I would like to welcome you to the HU Crafty Club video tutorial for this month. So this month, we're going to have some pyro fun. What? Okay, so before we get into all of the fun, right, I just want to make sure that you have checked out the safety information that is on the instruction guide, the craft instruction guide. So I just want to highlight a few of them because I'm sure that you'll read all of them very carefully before you get started. One of the main tools that we'll be using today is a heat tool. One thing that I'll note is that this gets very hot. So when you are using this, when it's actually on, you want to make sure that you don't touch the tip here. You don't want to look in the tip, and you don't want to aim this tip towards yourself, like your skin, or another person. On the back, there's vents, air vents. You want to make sure that they're not covered up. So when you're using it, hold it, in the center. Don't hold it back here like this and cover up the vents, okay? There will be potential opportunities for you to sand wood in this project. So whenever you're sanding wood, you want to protect your eyes and wear a mask so that you can prevent any of the air dust, the sand dust particles from getting into your body or into your eyes. And then in terms of the marker that we're using, it is a non-toxic. However, when you heat it up, sometimes there are some fumes that come up, and just for your safety, for your protection, just make sure that you're in a well-ventilated area when you use it. And as with all of our kits in the HU Crafty Club, we do recommend that if you're going to allow a child to work with you on this kit, that you just make sure that you're supervising them very carefully. And if it's something that you don't think they should do, they probably shouldn't do it. As we're going through our Pyro Fun kit, I encourage you to be as creative as possible. You do not have to stick strictly to the materials that I supply for you in this kit in terms of like the stencils and whatnot. You can definitely get creative, use some stencils that you already have, or just get creative and freehand. As a bonus, I'm also throwing in a piece of carbon paper. And so carbon paper is really easy to use. You can print any image out off of the internet and just put the carbon paper underneath with the dark side of the carbon paper facing down on your wood, and then you can just trace the image right on top, and that'll transfer the image to your wood so that you can then use our pyro tools to wood burn that image. I know there's so many options that you have here, and so there's a lot of different options, a lot of different paths, and you get to choose which path you want to go down. So for our first project, project number 1, you have a choice. You can either make actually you have 3 choices with project 1. You can either just make a piece of decor that you would just, sit on a mantle somewhere, or you can add hooks to the bottom and you can make it a wall hanger. We have some hooks that you can add to the back so that you can hang it on the wall. If that's not yours, if you don't like either one of those options, then you can also turn it into a photo holder simply by adding in these photo holding clips. Mine aren't glued in right now. I don't know if you can see it any better. Mine aren't glued in right now, but when you glue them in, then that'll make them a lot more stable. And these can be, if you're like they're too tall, you can trim them down. You can bend them, do whatever you need to do to make it fit what you're going for. In addition to that, project number 2, we're making coasters. So you're getting, like I said, you're getting some carbon paper as a bonus, and you're also getting a couple packs of stencils. So with these stencils, project number 2, we're making coasters. So you can use the stencils to jazz up your coasters. Or you can go freehand and see what magical things you can come up with. Don't judge my flower, y'all. Oh, there it is. I'm like, where's the stem? Don't judge my flower. Excuse me. And then the last project that we're doing is a little magnet, completely freehand. If you want to use a stencil, you totally can, but completely freehand. So this is my best friend and her boo. So this is reminiscent of, like, you know, camp back in the day. And then another option could be, you know, you creating a monogram for yourself. But all you do is you make your design, you burn it into the wood using our pyro tools, and then add some magnets on the back, and voila, you have a magnet. So those are the 3 projects that we have for you this month. And again, I'm so excited to see what other projects you come up with, what other things you figure out that you can do using the tools that we provided for you this month. I will note that the heat tool is super versatile. There's so many different things that you can do with the heat tool. This is only the beginning. We will be using the heat tool again next month, just like we use the goggles and the face mask. So you're gonna fall in love with this tool. I just feel it and fall in love with it. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started with project number 1. Okay, everyone, so for project number 1, first, I'm gonna give you a few moments so that you can decide, what are you making? Are you doing decor? Are you doing a wall hanger? Or are you doing the photo holder? Why is this important? It's because what you decide to do determines which way we put the design, the stencil / the design onto your wood. If you can see that, there's 3 holes that are pre-drilled into your wood. So you got to find those 3 holes, okay? If you're doing the photo holder, then those holes need to be at the top of your wood, right? So I had the love and the photo holders. They have to be at the top. The holes have to be at the top. But if you're doing the wall hanging, then your holes, your holes need to be at the bottom, okay? Because you're gonna screw those hooks in. You're gonna screw hooks into the bottom. So you just need to be mindful of where the holes are for which project you're gonna do. All right. Okay, I want to take a moment to talk about this transfer tape. So we're going to use this transfer tape to adhere our vinyl stencil to the wood. So this is one way that you can do it. So if you decide that you want to try the vinyl stencil with the transfer tape, do this for me before we start, okay? I want you to peel the vinyl away from the backing paper. And then I want you to take it and put it on your shirt or your pants and then rip it off. And then put it back down on your paper until we're ready to use it. So now it is prepared. The reason that we do that is because this tape is super sticky. And while we want it to be sticky enough to hold our letters, we don't want it to be so sticky that it's impossible to get it back off of the wood. So this just helps us create a little less tack, if you will, on here. We fuzzed it up. That's what the professionals call it. We fuzzed it up.
All right, so grab your block. This is the first thing that we're going to work with. I have already sanded it for you, so it should be smooth, but if you feel like it needs to be a little bit smoother, go ahead and grab your sandpaper and give it a once over. Make sure you decide what your project is going to be so that your holes will be facing in the right direction. Our first step is to add our stencil. You can decide to do this freehand. So if you are like, I'm not feeling the stencils, that's okay. Just put them to the side. Go ahead and you can just do this freehand, or you can grab the carbon paper that was included as a bonus in your kit and get your own image and just trace it onto the wood.
I'm going to spend a little bit more time on these stencils and how they work. So, just to be clear on them, there's definitely two ways to do these stencils. You can either pull the stencil up off the paper and lay it down. And so if that is the case, this is what I recommend. Carefully pull up the stencil, very carefully, because it will fold back over onto itself and then it's done. Carefully. Okay. Whew. And then you got to be very careful again. You don't want it to fold over onto itself. So what you do is lay it down. Now I like to start in the center because there's like a natural, it's like gravity has its own way that it wants to pull the stencil. So I like to start in the center and lay it down. And kind of let it fall where it's going to fall naturally. And then once I do that, then I'll go ahead and press it down to make sure that it is adhered, okay? The second thing that you then have to do is you have to go back in and make sure you grab any pieces, any additional pieces, and get those placed where they need to be. And you'll just have to kind of eyeball that to what looks good to you, okay? So that's one way to do it. I'm gonna tell you, I probably made that look a little easier than it actually is, and it was a challenge for me. So you're gonna get, you can, the potential is there to get super frustrated with this, but it's not impossible. The other way is using the transfer tape that I included in the box for you. Alright, so when we use the transfer tape, this is when we're going to definitely need our white card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel the transfer tape off the backing paper that it comes on. Okay? And I'm going to lay it over my stencil. Some people find it easier to lay this down on the table with the sticky side up and then put their stencil down on top of it. To be honest, either way works. Right, so I'm gonna lay this down on top of my stencil. I'm gonna use my burnishing card to make sure that there's no air trapped under there. And then I like to turn it over and really burnish it on the back. Because I want it to release from the white paper onto the clear transfer tape. And I'm going to pay special attention to where my O is, the center of my O, because I want to make sure that that gets stuck really well and it comes up. So then after doing that for a while, I'll go and I can peel that right off, and it all comes off in one piece, okay? Now, I'll tell you, the adhesive on the vinyl doesn't stick super well to the wood, but this does make it easier, especially if you have like a lot of small pieces that you need to make sure that get stuck down. So then you can go ahead and lay it down. Try to pull the piece taut as you're doing it. And then similarly, you know, you're gonna rub it. I always start in the center and go to one side and then to the other side. Take your card, rub it down as well with the card. Pay attention again to the inner part of the O. Get that real good. Okay. Now, when you first lift it up, it's likely that it's still gonna come up. Like it's sticking to the wood, but on these edges, it's not 100% down. So you're gonna have to actually manipulate that and get that off of the transfer tape. Okay. And as you pull it up, just kind of use your finger to hold down the edge here to make sure that it stays down. Okay? And then you can kind of very slowly roll that. Now, a trick that some people use that it works most of the time, you can take your white card, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna put it right in the crevice there, right in where the fold is. If you have this up, right in the fold, so the sticky part is facing outwards, the non-sticky part is what is on the card here. What you do is you'll use the card to apply pressure while you're peeling this back, okay? So it's almost like I don't even know how to what to compare it to, but it's like you're rolling with your fingers while you're pushing forward on the card with your thumbs, but you're rolling back with your fingers. See? You're rolling back with your fingers, but you're pushing forward on the card. You're rolling back with your fingers, pushing forward on the card. And as it comes off, you know, you just want to make sure that that vinyl stays down. This takes practice, y'all. Roll. Our O stayed down, so that's a positive. Roll and push. We're doing it. Roll and push. Roll and push. Roll and push. Woo. All right, so now this again, you can save this and use it again. It's actually better the second time because it's not as sticky. And then on our wood, go ahead and just use your card and make sure everything is down really, really well. Okay? So that's the two choices. You could just attempt to, I guess, freehand lay it. Just lay it down the best you can. Or you can use the transfer vinyl, the transfer tape to help you adhere the vinyl to the wood.
Once your vinyl has been added, make sure you use your white card to smooth it down. Again, this is called burnishing. So make sure you burnish it. You want to make sure you get all those nooks and crannies down as well as you can. Next, we're going to go in with a pencil and we're going to trace our image. Now, please note that you can just go in with the Pyro Marker. But I found that when you just go in with the Pyro Marker, that sometimes it bleeds a little bit more into the wood. You know, this is not a perfect science, so it's potential for it to bleed a little bit is there, but by tracing your image, I feel like it minimizes it. So what I'm gonna do is I will trace most of this word, but I'll do one of the letters with the Pyro Marker so that you can see the difference. I'm not really concerned about my pencil lines because I feel like once I burn the wood, I feel like I can't see them anymore. So it's not a problem for me to have pencil lines. Also, if you're curious, I have not tried it, but I do think if you're using the pencil method, I think you could potentially use any stencil. So if you already have stencils that are not adhesive stencils, I think they will work just as well if you're just tracing and using a pencil and then you're going to go back and fill it in. I do think the adhesive stencils work a little bit better if you are just going to go right in with the Pyro Marker. But I mean, that's what crafting is about, right? You can try different things, figure stuff out, see what works best for you. Make sure that you get the little insert pieces and, you know, any dots above letters. You want to make sure you get those traced. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take the marker. If you take the cap off your marker and it's dry, then don't forget to you have to pump it up and down on a piece of paper until the ink comes out. Make sure you know which tip you want to use. So I currently have the round tip. It's very, very similar to a marker. That's the tip that I have showing right now. But on the other side, on the inside, the tip has like a chiseled in. So if you're, you know, that if you know how to do calligraphy, you'll be familiar with a chiseled end because that's the type of, you know, markers that they use for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it out so that you can see it real quick. Use a paper towel or something if you've already used your marker, and then you can pull it out. And if you look closely, you could see that there's a slight angle there for that chiseled in. And then you just pop it back in. And again, you can see the round tip. All right, so now that I put it back in, I'm gonna go ahead and just pump it a few times. Make sure I have the ink flowing through the marker. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and fill in this F. So the ink, like a lot of ink was coming out, and so I figured I should dab some of that away because the more ink that's just sitting there, the worse the bleed is gonna be. All right, so that's the F. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna peel this back, and hopefully it's not too bad. I think I mentioned it already, but the black vinyl stencils, these are one-time use. So once you use them, it's pretty much a wrap on them. Okay, so the F's not too bad. Come on. It doesn't want to come up. The longer this vinyl sticks on something, like the harder it is to get off. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to heat my F up. So be prepared to watch the magic. The reason that I'm heating my F up again is I don't want the liquid to have any additional time to sit and saturate the wood so that, you know, there'll be more bleed. If you're looking at your project and you're like, it's not bleeding very much, then you could just go ahead and, you know, fill your whole word in and do this at the end. But whenever I notice that there's a little bit of bleeding, I try to do it letter by letter. just so that I can potentially, I guess, stop some of that from happening. So I just decided I'm going to see if I can clean the top of my F up a little bit. So I just drew on it. Guess what, y'all? You can't really tell from the video, but it didn't work. It didn't work. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead now and fill in the rest of my letters. I am noticing some bleed as I fill in these letters. So I think I'm going to go ahead, like I said, and I'll do some of the letters and then I'll heat it up. And then I'll do another letter and heat it up. So this way, again, my goal is to just minimize how much the wood gets saturated. Now, one thing that I'm noticing is that I'm not getting as much bleed, as much excess. So it could just simply be that when I started the word off, because I pumped my pen so many times, it could have just been that I had a lot of excess liquid and maybe that's what caused that bleed, because I'm not really getting it at the end of this word. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'll just finish this word out and then I'll finish my burn. Yes, I did. I almost forgot the dot over my I. So I didn't mention this before, but whenever I'm heating, I try to hold the heat tool 1 to 2 inches away from the wood. And also I found that the longer you hold it over a section, the darker it gets. So you'll actually notice the color actually change over time. There you go. That's my family. It's not perfect, but hey, I think it looks good and it was a lot easier than more traditional methods of wood burning. So just FYI, what I'm just doing right now is I saw a space that I was like, oh, that really didn't get the marker. I could still see the, the wood color. So I just touched it up. And that's really easy to do with the marker, to just touch up a space and then reheat it. Now I thought about, I just thought about adding to it, but I'm going to stop because when I start adding stuff, then I just keep adding, and then it goes from like, it was okay, Sherry, to like, all right, now I want to start the whole project over. So I'm just going to leave it here. So now if you decided to make the wall hanger, what you will do is you'll take these are called cup hooks. You take the cup hooks and then you can just start twisting them into those pre-drilled holes. Yep, just twist your heart out. For the wall hanger, you don't need glue on these hooks. They're in there pretty securely. Like you'll be able to feel it as you're twisting it in. It's pretty tight. I'm thinking this could be a new dance. All right, so there it is. That's my family. And since I'm going to hang it up on the wall, I'm going to add these 2 hooks to the back. Now, I did include the screws in your kit, but I'm going to actually glue the hooks on. I'm going to use some of the E6000 glue and just add it to the hook. And then I'll put I'm going to put a piece of tape around it to kind of secure it in place while it dries. And then I'll just let it dry I'll probably let it dry overnight just to make sure that it has a strong hold. But if you have the tools and you would like to just screw them in, you go right ahead, grab a drill and go ahead and add those hooks with the screws. This is one that I was practicing on that I did before. So just to show you quickly, if you are going to do the photo holder version, what you would do is you would take a little bit of the glue and just put it on the ends and stick the end right in the hole, in the pre-drill holes. And again, with the E6000 glue, you can let it dry, and then once it dries, it is a permanent secure hold. You can try to use hot glue with this. It will be challenging to get the hot glue down in the holes, but you can try hot glue with the photo hooks as well as with the hooks that go on the back. Once you have this secured, then you can just take your 3 photos and stick them right in the hooks. You can bend the hooks, like the 2 on the outside, you can bend them out a little bit. All right, so next up is the coasters. Coasters, after doing the first project, you're going to be like, wow, this is easy. I need more coasters in my life. So I got these coasters from a craft supply warehouse, but you can get them on Amazon. And I've also seen sheets of cork at the Dollar Tree, y'all. So you can always get the cork from the Dollar Tree and cut the circle out or cut it into a square to make your coaster. Okay. So we got our 2 coasters and we got a piece of felt that we're going to use on the back. We have our marker, our heat tool, and then we're going to use some stencils on this. I'm going to do a stencil on one, and then I'll do freehand on the other. So these stencils are self-adhesive stencils, but I wouldn't be surprised if a non-adhesive stencil also worked. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to stick our stencil down to the cork. And these stencils are reusable. This is not, you may have a different design from the one that I have, but the blue stencils are reusable. So you do have a blue stencil. I'm going to go ahead and put that one to the side because, like I said, I'm going to freehand this other one over here. So, all right, here we go. I'm going to take my marker. If it needs to be pumped, I'll do my little pumping action. And I think I'm going to draw a flower. Just maybe like a big flower just on the whole cork, maybe. Let's see if I can do this. I'm definitely not an artist, so please don't judge my drawing. However, I'm a crafter, and so whatever I draw, I'm gonna love and appreciate because I did it. Okay, okay. Y'all, I am loving these petals. They're pretty good. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna front. My petals are pretty good. What? Yeah, this might be the best flower I have ever drawn freehand. All right, so now I'm gonna take the marker and I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of fill in the stencil. I'm just making sure that it is still, stuck down before I start to fill it in. Here we go. I'm so sorry, y'all, about all these background noises. I can't really control them, but it seems like every time I record, they just wanna they wanna get louder and louder and louder. So one thing I noticed with the cork is that you don't really get bleed like you do on wood. So that is a positive. This marker is supposed to work on cork, wood, and cardboard. I have not tested out cardboard yet, but it definitely I think my favorite is the cork. It comes out amazing on the cork. I'm thinking about getting like a big cork board and like just doodling designs all over it and burning it and like hanging that up. Or maybe even like breaking it into sections on my cork board, like maybe my to-do list and I don't know, whatever sections I would have, but I could use this marker to do that and then it'll give it a nice wood burnt look. All right, we're almost there, just a little bit more. And okay. All right. I think we are ready to burn. So I'm going to go ahead and peel the stencil off carefully. Put that to the side. I'm going to put that back on the paper so I can reuse it. So we got my flower and we got our Hello Sunshine. I was about to put it on my felt first, but then I remember felt and heat they don't really get along well. The heat will melt the felt. So I'm gonna go ahead and heat them up. I'm gonna grab the scissors. If you have like scissors or a pen or something that you can use to like hold it still, the coasters are really, really light and so they like to blow away from you. Woo, you see that? I love watching the transition. It is getting darker. Yes, hello sunshine. Nice. And you see like it's nice crisp sharp letters when you use cork. All right, flower, let's go. It's your turn. Now, I have noticed that the cork may warp a little bit, but from my experience with other projects, if you just put it between like the pages of a book or between two books, it should flatten it right back out. I'm just going back in and doing some touch-ups now, just because I noticed some spots that I missed when I used the stencil. Okay, so y'all, I did pretty good on the E and the L, but my second L, I don't know if it's you can see it or not. My second L has a little bit of a tummy now. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just peel the backing off of the cork. The back of the cork is completely self-adhesive already, so I'm gonna pull this backing off to expose the glue. I'm gonna stick it down onto this piece of felt. Do the other one. I think I'm gonna do it. Oh, there we go. All right, I'm gonna put that one down too. And then I saw a spot that didn't seem like it was dark, so oh, you see my felt? My felt is starting to melt. Yep. Gotta be careful with that felt. Oops. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead now and just grab my scissors and I'm gonna trim these out. And once I finish cutting them out, y'all, that's basically it. Like, you have your coasters. That's really all that's to it. Bam, that's one. All right, and now for the last project. This is what live edge wood looks like. These are small rounds, they're not super big. We're just gonna do this freehand. And I think for today's project, I think what I'm gonna do is, I don't know, maybe a monogram. All right, so there's 2 magnets in your kit for each there's 2 round magnets for each magnet. I want you to just take a look at them. One side is flat. You see that? One side's flat. And then if you turn it over, the other side has a little indentation in it. That indentation is what you're going to glue. You're going to glue that side of it to the actual wood. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw on my piece of wood. I'm going to do freehand. Let me think. A monogram. I think you put your first initial in the center, really large, I think. Well, at least that's how mine is going to be today. All right, so I'm going to draw a large C, and I'm going to try to use this marker to thicken it up a little bit. Okay, not bad, not bad, not bad. Okay, I'm not mad at it. All right, so then I'm gonna do my my middle initial. And then my last initial. And I think that's it. I think that's a wrap. Man, that was easy. Okay, so go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and heat it up. We'll watch it burn. My favorite part is watching the colors change. Woohoo. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off and set my heat gun down. I think that looks pretty good. So I was gonna turn it over, but look, this is from when I was practicing before. So this is my best friend's initials. Her and her boo. So like really you can draw whatever you want, be as creative as you want with these magnets. Really the sky is the limit. All right, I'm gonna grab one that doesn't have anything on it just for demonstration purposes. So what you would do is you would turn your magnet over, grab your E6000 glue. We're gonna put a little bit of the glue on the side that has the indent, and then go ahead and glue that down to the back. Now again, we need to let this E6000 glue sit overnight until it dries. But once it dries, it really is permanent, strong bond. Okay? All right, y'all. Well, to be honest, that concludes project number 3. So I hope you had a blast. All right, y'all. It is time to recap what we have accomplished here. So we created a family wall hanger using the vinyl stencil that we got in the kit and the cup hooks. We created a love photo holder, also using the stencil from the kit and the photo holding clips that we got, the photo holding spirals. And don't forget, if you don't use the spirals and you don't use the hooks, it's still a piece of decor. You could just sit it on a shelf or sit it on a mantle and it could just be a standalone piece, right? Okay, so we also did our coasters. So we did our coasters using the stencils that we got as a bonus. So I got my Hello Sunshine. And then also I did one that says Daydream. But then I also have a few that I did by hand just for fun. So, you know, some different flowers and a heart. And then last but certainly not least, we have our magnet. So we got our camp inspired A and W magnet, or you could do a monogram, or you could do something from your stencils. But that's all the projects, y'all, that we accomplished quite a bit this month.